Morning. I'm here at the Clay National Guard Center with James Nelson, chairman of the Freedom Calls Memorial Foundation, and we are at the site of the memorial wall that honors the 42 fallen Guards, men and women from the Gulf War. So, James, why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about what we're looking at and how it came about?
Okay, what we got, Commissioner, here is like 42 plaques of the soldiers that was lost during the War on Terror. That ranges from the very beginning all the way to the end. The last.
Now, were these put up like that was first soldier? Because I think you told me that it was
yes.
like in 2001.
Right, 2003.
2003.
Yeah,
okay.
Right. All the way up to our last one, which was in 2009, if I'm not mistaken.
So now, what inspired you to kind of put together the foundation and try to build this wall?
Well, initially when the new building was constructed, there was not a memorial site per se. And we, after a visit to Iraq, myself and General Nesbitt later on, we felt the need to actually to develop a site here.
Okay.
After viewing some sites that were left over in Iraq. So, we set about to organize a nonprofit that would facilitate that.
Okay. Now, none of this happens without help from, the National Guard, of course, but also, I think you told me that the wall was about $10,000 by itself, right?
To get to this point, to include the making of the plaques, you can see the flag and flagpole,
okay.
Getting it, redoing the fountain area, replacing the center theme block, the dedication block, and doing some of the shrubbery work here was about $10,000.
Now, in our previous conversations, I know that the foundation and yourself have more things that you'd like to do.
Yes, sir.
Obviously everyone knows the National Guard and the Minuteman statue.
Right.
And I know we've talked about that you want to have a Minuteman statue here,
right,
which
absolutely.
is, of course, one of the most expensive parts.
Right.
And there's some other landscaping, and I know you'd like to kind of dress up the wall.
Right.
So, can people help you with that?
Yeah, sure, they sure can. We have a site, Freedom Call Memorial Foundation is our site, and they can either do a couple things. They can either donate a whatever amount they choose to the foundation, or they can purchase a memorial brick.
Which I think we're actually standing.
Yes.
Where some of the bricks are right here.
Right.
Okay.
Those are $50 a piece, the base cost.
Okay.
And it goes up to they can either go gold or silver, which the gold is $500 and silver is $250.
Okay.
And the brick don't change; it's just the amount of that contribution. But those are two ways.
All right. Now I know we talked too. What's also going to be added here is some benches,
right?
So that folks can come out, especially the families,
right,
and just kind of share a moment with fallen warriors.
Yeah, and they are not here yet, but they're in the development stage. We're about halfway through paying for those particular ones. But they will be around the front edge, as you can see here, hopefully in the near future. And there was purchased by each one of the units of the National Guard.
Okay. Now, there's 42 names, 42 pictures.
Correct.
And in your when you were in active duty,
right?
I know you personally know a lot of the men and women on this wall.
I do.
And so I think it's a huge honor that you've given them, and the time that you've dedicated to getting this in place and giving a lasting memorial for both them and the family.
Well, and I appreciate that. But a lot of effort went in this by a lot of good people, to include the leadership, obviously, of the National Guard. The foundation is operating on their property.
Sure.
They've provided a lot of resources to help us get here, and a lot of good people have dedicated a lot of time and effort into support to get us to this point.
So it has been a community effort to get to this point.
It has been a community effort to get to this point.
And obviously to go further, we need to kind of work together to get the community further involved to help get some more funding for some of the additional items, and then just because the reality is it's all about the families.
Yes, absolutely.
There's quite a few children that were left behind without a parent.
There is.
And I know that part of what the foundation wants to do, it's not just about building a wall. It's about setting up a foundation that can help with the children, maybe have scholarships, and really kind of reach out to the families because they're the ones that are left behind.
Absolutely right, and that's part of what we envision as being what we do, in the way forward.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us on the show.
Okay.
And to the viewers back home, the information where you can become a part of the community supporting our fallen heroes is on the screen. As you heard from James, any amount of donation helps and will further setting up the memorial and that foundation for the families. Welcome back. This month, when we take our breaks, instead of the community calendar, we're going to pay tribute to the guardsmen and women who lost their lives. So during that time, we're going to show each person and some information about them. So right now, our next guest is Jerry Kwan, Precinct 4 Commander. Jerry is a native of Cobb County, former Marine, police officer with Cobb County for over 25 years, served in patrol, narcotics, detective, and the organized crime units. He was the Precinct 1 commander in Kennesaw prior to moving to Precinct 4. Welcome.
Thank you.
One of the things that, people know a lot about the county police, but one of the things is there's actually a committee that is appointed by the Board of Commissioners that interacts with the police called the Neighborhood Safety Commission. Why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about what they do and how they kind of work with you all?
Sure. The Neighborhood Safety Committee is a 15-member panel appointed by the 5 commissioners. They each get to appoint 3 members to the board. They meet on a regular monthly basis, and they talk about issues in the community and the business community and try to make a safer environment for all. I've dealt with them for the last 5 years as a precinct commander, and they've dealt with topics such as terrorism. They've dealt with...
they also have some like block parties too, right? To kind of interact with the public.
Yes, in fact, most recently they've been doing the elderly task force, and what they've done is they joined the police department, the sheriff department, the district attorney's office, and on making the public more aware of the elderly abuse in the community.
Right, which nationwide has become a much bigger issue. I know that just recently here in Cobb County, we had an issue of pretty much some severe abuse of some of the elderly by an individual who has since been apprehended.
Yes, sir. And the Neighborhood Safety Committee is very proactive. And in fact, I just had a meeting with them last month and talking about the police improvement plan. So they are very aware of what's going on, and they're very proactive.
Well, and I actually spent some time on the Neighborhood Safety Committee myself. And I know that back, one of the things that they helped, and it came from Precinct 4, was the PENS system, which is the police email notification system. Let's tell the viewers a little bit about what that
Sure.
does.
The police PIN stands for Police Email Notification System. Currently, Precinct 4 is the one that started the PINs program. We have over 7,000 members signed up for it, and we send monthly newsletters out to our PINs rep. Nobody knows the community, the neighborhood better than the HOA boards and the people that are actually actively involved in it. So what we do, this is a link between the police department and the neighbors, and we exchange information. Anytime we're looking for somebody or something's happening in the area, we let them know. And of course, if there's any questions the community has for us, they email us. In fact, last month we had over 20 questions from our PINs representatives.
Now, one of the things about the system, because there's actually almost like three parts to the PENS system. There is the neighborhood reps, like you talked about, that the PENS person kind of interacts with, and then there is is it the monthly meeting of the PENS, that group?
We do that on a quarterly basis.
Okay, quarterly
right.
basis, and then there's actually the PENS notifications that go out.
Yes, sir.
So, for example, if there's been a crime committed and the police are looking for information, then that's what goes out to the 7,000 people whose emails. So. It's an email notification system. How do people sign up?
If you go to cobbpolice.com, on the left side of that screen, you'll see PINS, P-E-N-S. You can just click onto there, sign up. If you're in a neighborhood that has an HOA, you probably have a representative already, but you can still receive it directly. And if you have any questions about it, please contact us at Precinct 4.
Now, and there's actually, all the precincts now have PENS, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so when a person signs up, because actually District 2 is in both Precinct 4 and Precinct 3.
Yes, sir.
So the folks should sign up for whichever one. Now, does it matter which one they sign up for?
I signed up for both of them, just so you have an idea what's going on in your adjacent neighbors,
Okay.
just in case.
So let's talk a little bit about, because one of the things that comes with the PENS notifications or the report is the beats.
Yes, sir.
Now people watch plenty of TV shows. The beats are probably where the officers are, but how is the county divided into beats?
Well, the county's divided into 5 different precincts. As you know, I'm the Precinct 4 commander. In Precinct 4, we have 8 beats. Everything east of Interstate 75, starting at Columns Drive at Chattahoochee River, going north all the way up to 92 is considered Precinct 4, and it's divided up into 10 beats.
Now, when folks look at the, they get the PENS report or they get a notification, and it'll say, the PENS notification will have kind of a more detailed address, but when they look at a beat, is there a place that they can go to see where a beat is located?
Yes, sir. On the cobbpolice.com, it breaks it down by beat. So if you're not sure what beat you're in or what precinct you're in, if you go to cobbpolice.com and look at that, you'll be able to know where you're at.
Okay. Now, there's another reporting system that the county has, and it's called Nixie, right?
Yes, sir.
What exactly is that?
Well, whenever there's a specific crime or maybe a missing person or something like that, we can target a specific area. It's run through the 911 system, and we can send emails just to that area that is affected, so the whole county doesn't receive it.
So now, do people need to sign up for that in addition to the PENS?
Yes, sir, they do.
Same place?
Same place, cobbpolice.com.
Okay. So now, I know in Precinct 4, a lot of what has come out of both the Neighborhood Safety Committee and the PENS, interaction between the police officers assigned to Precinct 4 and the community. I believe is it Christmas Eve that they have the dinner?
Yes, sir.
So let's talk a little bit about how the community and the precinct have kind of come together as a result.
Well, it's titled Cobb Heroes. It is a way for the Cobb Chamber of Commerce to honor the officers and firefighters of the East Cobb area, and they do it once a year for each police and fire. Businesses are asked to donate money, and this is an opportunity for the business community and the police officer and their spouse to interact with the businesses on a friendly basis.
Yeah, it was very enjoyable last time.
It was.
Well, thank you for joining us, and folks, we'll be back after a short break, and like I said, this time the break's going to be honoring those fallen heroes. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Joining us now is Officer Kevin Ashbaugh, who joined the police department in 1998 after serving in the U.S. Army Military Police. He's a certified police firearms instructor, teaching at the police academy since 2003. Currently, he's teaching about terrorism and incident management to the recruits. He served as department's Homeland Security officer, and he is currently assigned to Precinct 4. Welcome. Now,
Thank you, sir.
of course, the big thing that you've been out instructing folks about, and I actually sat in on one of your sessions, is the change in the carry laws that went into effect July 1st.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about, because a lot of it has changed, where they can, where they can't, and what the rules are.
All right. Well, on July 1st this year, Georgia's new law went into effect. House Bill 60 passed, was signed, and it did make some significant changes, although probably not as much as it get hyped up to. The big changes that we were seeing right now is government buildings. That obviously now, as of July 1st, you can carry, if you have a Georgia weapons carry license, you can carry a firearm into a government building, whether it's county or state. It does not apply to federal buildings; those still fall under a different law.
Right, and that's because federal buildings under federal law, and this is a state law.
Correct.
Okay.
The big change there really is that you still have some limitations on that. The government building, if it has security screening checkpoints where they're checking people for weapons and so forth, you still cannot carry into those buildings.
So, for example, the Superior Court and the county court system, which does have an active security checkpoint, a person would not be able to carry in there regardless of whether or not they have a concealed carry.
Correct, and the law actually defines courts separately from government buildings
Okay.
in that code section.
But, for example, the commissioner's office buildings where we have the commission meetings, which does not have an active security system, the law would then allow someone to carry.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Where are some of the other, now I know there's some other restrictions as where it can be carried.
Yes, also, of course, jails and prisons, obviously, you can't carry
Right.
in those. Houses of worship was another area that had changes this year. Prior to this year, it was a blanket, you cannot carry a firearm, permit or no permit, into a house of worship. However, what the law says now is it's illegal to carry into a house of worship unless the governing authority of that house of worship takes action to permit it in their premises.
Okay, so because I think a lot of people think that in a church or a house of worship that they have to tell you you can't carry, but it's actually just the opposite, that unless they say you can, it's still prohibited.
Yes, state law actually says it's illegal unless they allow it.
Okay, now what about, say, for example, because I know a lot of folks are always concerned about people carrying weapons around children, and so what about our schools and libraries and parks?
Okay, now libraries would still be considered a government building under this code section unless we put security in those with screening
Okay.
checkpoints. They are legal to carry into libraries and places like that. Schools fall under a different section of the law, and for the most part, you cannot, even with a license, carry into a school. However, there is an exception for Georgia weapons carry license holders who are dropping off or picking up students.
Okay, so they, you obviously you can see that, you don't want them leaving the weapon in the vehicle, and so they're allowed to have the weapon on their person, drop their child off at school, and they wouldn't be in violation. But then to go visit their teacher or go to some assembly, they would not be able to bring the weapon in.
Correct, yeah. You can't stay for lunch. You can't go watch your child's sports practice or sports event at the school and keep that weapon on you. It would have to be secured in your vehicle during that time.
Okay, now, were there any changes to any of the penalties for violating the law, or was it pretty much still the same?
Primarily, it stayed the same. There is a provision with regards to weapons on school property now where there is an element that they have to prove of intent to violate the law. So if they've forgotten, had a knife or a firearm in a bag, something, they may not be charged. There is a provision for that now.
So now, of course, one of the obvious things, and you read about it all the time, people all of a sudden ending up at the security checkpoint at an airport with their weapon. So now with the more, if we'll call it liberal carry laws, people have to really be conscious of where they're coming and going to, and for example, if they keep it in a briefcase or something like that, they've got to be careful if they go in the airport because that is a federal crime and federal rules apply.
Yes, however, what the state did with airports this year is they basically wrote into the law that if you have a Georgia weapons carry license, you can carry in non-secure areas of the airports. However, if you were to go through checkpoints saying you'd forgotten that weapon in your bag, there's a provision now in the law where if it was just an inadvertent mistake, they bring it to your attention, you will not be charged under state law if you leave when they tell you you can't bring that through, you've got a weapon in your bag. You kind of get an opportunity to go put that back or get rid of it. However, the federal side still applies, and
that's
TSA
really,
is still going to get you.
Right, and being very familiar with how that works at the airports, that they're not probably going to be as forgiving.
No.
So now we keep talking about the concealed carry. It is a license that you have to have.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about how a citizen goes and gets that license.
Okay, well, it's relatively simple process in Georgia. I'm from up north. It was a lot more complicated up there. Basically, that any citizen can go to, they do have to be a Georgia resident, but they can go to the probate court of the county they live in this case here, Marietta Cobb's probate court. There's some paperwork they have to fill out, an application form, get some fingerprints done, a photograph taken, and they are going to run a background check. And basically, if you can legally go to the store and buy a firearm, you're not a convicted felon, you don't have any domestic violence convictions, no protective orders against you, no history of drug abuse or drug dealing, things like that, generally you're going to get the permit. They're going to run that background check. If you don't come back as one of those prohibited categories, they're going to issue it to you. Okay,
and the probate judge's office is over in the Superior Court building, right? And then I believe the fingerprinting is done by the sheriff's office.
Yes.
Okay, so now obviously there's a whole lot more questions people might have about the House bill, and what they can do is, I know that I have a link on my webpage that folks can go and get more questions answered. Well, I want to thank both of you for joining us this month, and safe travels.
Thank you.
Well, that's all we have time for this month. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we look forward to having you join us next month. Until then, I'll see you around the district.
Welcome home, man.
Today is Saturday. Today is Saturday. Salad on Saturday, fruit on Friday, throw a ball Thursday. Water Wednesday, touch your toes Tuesday. Let's move Monday, sparkle snack Sunday. All the healthy children eat well and move a lot. And move a lot. And move a lot. Eat well and move a lot.
60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. So keep them active and eating well every day.
Skip a rope Saturday, freeze tag Friday, tap dance Thursday.
Whole grains Wednesday, try a veggie Tuesday. Let's move Monday, split the sweet Sunday.
Eat well and move a lot. Today is Saturday. Today is Saturday. All the healthy children, all the healthy children.
Get ideas. Get involved. Get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
What if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? What if everything familiar becomes anything but? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed today. Learn how at ready.gov.
Mom, can we get some ice cream?
Please, Mom, please.
No, we're having dinner soon.
Please.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
I'm home, and I love it. I'm home where I belong. I'm home, and I love it. I'm home where I belong.
It's always nice to come home. But these days, many Americans are at risk of foreclosure and losing their homes. Making Home Affordable is a free program from the U.S. government that has already helped over 1 million struggling homeowners like these. And we want to help you.
I'm home, and I love it. I'm home.
Find out now what your options are. Go to makinghomeaffordable.gov or call 1-888-995-HOPE. The sooner you act, the better chance we can help you.
I'm home, where I belong. Hey! Turn here. There. Excuse me.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to feedthepig.